What is up, Nerf Nation? I'm Naptown Nerf, and today we're going to take this brand new inbox Rayvenfire and turn it into something truly awesome to auction off at Foamcon 2018. Let's take it inside and get started. Alright, so I think I have this battery door figured out and got all the space I need there for my LiPo, which is really nice. This is an extended battery door from Jace 3D. You probably could get away without using an extended battery door, but it is a little bit, fits a little bit nicer, and you don't have to remove quite as much plastic if you use one. I actually removed just a little bit of the sides here so it would fit flush. Because this is just a little bit high, and I didn't want to remove or skeletonize the plastic behind it. This is a tight fit, as most people know that are familiar with Ravens. Fitting a battery in is not the easiest, but I really love this LiPo. This is a great size for so many things, and I'm so happy I found this size. It is only 850 milliamp, but it is a 65C 130 burst, so. And this is a 3S LiPo, so that's really cool. It also has very short leads, and it doesn't have super thick wires. I think these are like 16 AWG wires, so not thin, but definitely not thick, and it's just a lot shorter, and it works a lot better for most Nerf blasters, like the Rayven, the General Blaster. This fits nicely in. If you're doing like a rapid pistol, this would work really well, so it works well for a lot of things. So what I've done is I removed the plastic back in here and kind of part of the bottom there so I can put the battery down in. And then I did the same thing on this side over here, but I didn't remove I just removed to the bottom. I didn't remove really any part of the back because it wasn't necessary. And then you just will fit this right in here just like this. So you push down there, and then you did have to trim off the top part of the ledge there on both sides so it will fit in, and it works perfect. So you just dig it in just like that and push down, and then it sits there, and it gives it a pretty cool look in my opinion. This was a really cool, his stuff is just really cool looking. So we should be set with the battery door now. Let's move on. Alright, you guys. Well, I could not be happier with how this hider dip turned out. And that 2K sure does make it pop. So let's go ahead, turn these things over, and start on the internals. Alright, you guys. So first we're going to set up this OFP 41.5mm Rayven Morpheus cage. And I did have to do a few little modifications to get this to actually fit. This boss right here didn't really want to go down in there, and I think that had to do more so than just the paint. Obviously the paint adds a little bit of thickness, but it was pretty thick. But I just took a file and flattened that down, so not too big a deal, and hopefully it works well. I still feel like it doesn't fit in there quite perfectly, as it just doesn't seem like it lines up perfectly with the bosses. Like this boss is a little too high up or something. But it will fit in there with some force, so hopefully it doesn't warp the shell or anything. Just something I've noticed, so hopefully that's not a big deal. We're going to go ahead and lock this in here. This does have to be glued in or it will push out, because if a dart hits this part, it'll just push it, and that will be rubbing against your flywheels, and that will be bad. So we're going to glue that down and then go from there. Alright, so that's epoxied in there, and if you're going to do this, make sure you roughen up, like sand down the aluminum guide there with something, just to give it something for the epoxy or your glue of choice to adhere to. Hopefully that holds in there nicely, and let's go ahead and put some motors in this thing. Well, that was a lot harder than it should have been. The tolerance of where those holes are were a little bit off and made it very difficult to actually get them to seat into the threads of the motors. Alright, so I think I'm going to go with some cyclones for this build. Some high quality flywheels there for sure. And this should give us some pretty darn good power. So alright, you guys, I have this thing pretty much ready to be wired up here. I have locked in my voltmeter up here with a screw, and I have locked in my switch plate for my Omron switch. Yep, Omron switch, which is provided by Out of Darts, and these switch plates are really cool. I'm really liking them so far. I've used one in the Strife and in the Rayven. They do take a little bit of tweaking, and there are a few little things, but it does seem to work pretty well, and it makes it a lot cleaner and simpler, so that's really cool. And then I have my switch here to read my voltmeter, so basically I just need to wire this up. My motors are already wired up with the Dean's connector, so they can be removed, and that's pretty cool. So let's go ahead and get going. pretty good. Let's go fire this thing off. Alright, you guys. This Rayven turned out awesome. I could not be happier with how that hydro dip turned out. And that 2K just makes it sparkle as always. Super excited to auction this off at Foamcon coming up in less than a week. Cannot wait for that trip. So let's go ahead and fire Mirage over the chronograph. Alright, so between like high 90s to, you know, upper 110s, you know, 117 I think was one of the higher ones. And I'm probably guessing it's going to get better because I don't have much foam buildup on these cyclone wheels yet. So pretty darn good performance, about what I expected, and it is Endwar legal, so that's pretty cool. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this build video of Mirage. Don't forget to smash that like button. Please subscribe. And as always, peace out.